the previous chapter, Wazi uses his super potion at the last second, in order for him to train without passing out. Still, his supply of super potions isn't enough, so he collapses, but to their surprise, he breaks through. Now, Kage tells him it is about time to start the real training, so Wazi begins his combat training. Now on to the next part. In the habitat of the mantis, several blade mantis can be seen knocked out, and now Wazi is facing another mantis in one-on-one battle. Wazi uses his mushroom sword dance, while the mantis uses his instant blade draw, and as they clash their abilities, Wazi receives a damage on his face. In contrast, the senior blade mantis lost. With this outcome, Piggy celebrated Wazi's win, while the two generals stayed calm. Wazi then talks to Kage, asking if he saw that, and boasts that his combat techniques are pretty good, to which Kage calls him an idiot, because that was just the warm-up. Wazi was confused, so Kage tells him that, in front of real experts, underestimating his opponents for a single moment can lead to his death. Suddenly he felt something. A blade was suddenly unsheathed. Luckily he blocked it in the nick of time, but it knocked him back. Now in front of him is a level 78 Grandmaster Blade Mantis. When a Blade Mantis reaches the peak of the way of the sword, it will evolve into a Grandmaster Blade Mantis. After evolving, it will become the sword teacher for all the Blade Mantis in its territory, and if two Blade Mantis Grandmasters meet, they will duel to the death. Wazi then noticed, for a level 78 monster, its offensive attributes are too strong. Kage responds that it is just a minor difference in rank, and as a king, he should at least be able to do this much. Wazi tells him that even after he fully break through, his attributes aren't a match for this thing, but the Grandmaster isn't playing around, as it leaps to Wazi while he was still talking, and it uses a Grandmaster level blade cleave on him. At a later time, they have set up a camp to rest, and Piggy is busy being helpful, stacking herbs, while Wazi is badly injured. He then tells them that was way too hard, so he asks if can't they find an opponent that at his level. Kage replies that, if it was someone else, yes, but not him. This confuses Wazi, so he asks why, to which Bayu responds that it is because he is training to become a king. Only by fighting opponents of a higher level can he show his full potential. Then Kage adds that, among the humans that attacked the Mushroom Kingdom back then, many of them were of a higher level, but all of them were beaten back by the previous king anyway, all except the last one. The generals then tell him that there are two areas he needs to improve on right now. First, there are a lot of excessive movements in his sword play. Second, he needs to learn how to bring out the true strength of his weapon, the Mushroom Rapier. Wazi was clueless, so he asked how, to which Kage explained to Wazi that the Mushroom Rapier is the legacy weapon of the Mushroom Kings. It will appear by itself in front of the king through miraculous ways. Although he is not sure how he got his hands on it, he can tell that Wazi is not fully compatible with it yet, and he is yet to find a combat style unique to himself. This confuses him more, since he believes that it is just a normal sword. Other than being unbreakable, it doesn't have any other abilities. Meanwhile, Piggy is still busy stacking herbal stems in the background. Bayu then states that the late king's rapier was formed from 1,000 absorbing mushrooms. That's why it has the ability to absorb and release energy. This made Wazi realize that no wonder why the level 60 Mushroom King could beat that level 69 warrior back then. It turns out that his weapon had a unique ability, and with this, he assumes that all he has to do is learn how to make his mushroom rapier absorb and spit out energy, which he earned a bonk to the head for being a dumbass. Wazi asks Kage why he hit him. He is a patient, to which Kage asks him if he was even listening. Then Bayu explains that, throughout history, all the mushroom rapiers were unique. Their attributes are based on the king wielding them, so each king has a different fighting style. So she advises Wazi to think carefully. Then she asks how did he get his mushroom rapier. He answers that it came from a tree branch. Kage is shocked to hear what Wazi just said, so this made him facepalm, as he sigh, since he believes it is over, and they are doomed. In contrast, Wazi picks up his sword and remembers something, but before he can say it, his wounds open up again, and all of his mushroom juices come out from him. The next day, in front of the Temple of the Mantis, the Grandmaster Blade Mantis is sitting all alone meditating, and Wazi is in his battle stance to challenge it again. So Wazi charged at the Mantis, which it opens its eyes as Wazi got closer, and it knocked him to the ground. Kage sighed as he saw Wazi getting his ass handed to him again. But Wazi wasn't done, so he went for another attack, but the Grandmaster Mantis just cleaves through him again. Therefore Bayu declares that Wazi failed. However, Wazi's fighting spirit isn't diminished as he asks to try again, and went to charge at the Grandmaster Mantis for another round. And as their attack clashed, and the Grandmaster Mantis confidently put his sword back in its sheath, but he was surprised to see Wazi is still standing. In contrast, Wazi was now more confident as he claimed that he finally saw the Grandmaster Mantis's movements, and his Sage Mode mastery has increased from level 7 to level 8, to which Kage is proud that there's little improvement, but that doesn't mean he can defeat the Grandmaster Mantis now, as he was knocked to the ground again. This made him realize that seeing its movements aren't enough. It's useless if his body can't keep up. Kage then points out to Wazi that he has gotten rid of a lot of excess movements, but it is still lacking, and if he can't win against something of this level, then what will happen when he faces the Eye of the Firebane Guild? Bayu tells Wazi that he has a talent, since he was able to improve so much in less than a month, so she advises him to try his best to activate the special ability of his Mushroom Rapier. But Wazi is visibly frustrated, because he really doesn't know what's the special ability of his sword, but he's still charged to attack, and as they fight, Bayu reminds him that he has the king's heritage, and he is the only one who can do it, so she advises him to recall how his sword was formed. This leads him to more questions than answers, as he asks himself how a branch of the divine tree transformed into the Mushroom Rapier, and what's his connection with it, while Kage assumes that, as a Mushroom King, Wazi doesn't even look like a mushroom, so maybe that is why he can't use his sword. But suddenly something clicks inside of Wazi's brain. As he heard these words from Kage, he finally realizes something. When he uses Mushroom Bash, while in his human form, it turns into an enhancement of his legs that allows him to dash and jump with incredible power. When in monster form, he is using the abilities of a monster, but as a human, his abilities will change into something suitable for a human to use. Strictly speaking, it is no longer an ability, but mushroom magic. Although Piggy and Aunt Bayu can also transform between the two forms, he is different from them. Using the Mushroom Rapier, he can use it to freely change his abilities between the two forms. This will allow him to combine his mushroom abilities and mushroom magic into one. What's more, that tree branch originally had the ability to accumulate power. With that, he could store magic power and use it to dish out an extra powerful attack or replenish his own. Meanwhile, Kage is amazed at how Wazi is utilizing his ability to transform between human and monster forms to throw off the Blade Mantis Grandmaster's rhythm, and Bayu acknowledges that Wazi is closer to unlocking his full potential, while Wazi just obtained a new profession called Magic Swordsman. On the other hand, the Grandmaster Blade Mantis is now serious, so it uses its ability called Oscillation. Now the speed of it greatly increased. The two of them both charged at the same time, and at the speed which only a few can reach. The Mantis strikes, but Wazi dodges it, and now he is behind the Mantis, so he didn't waste his opportunity to attack it. But now the Mantis is in rage, as it counter-attack with multiple strikes, which Wazi was able to dodge, utilizing his ability to transform. Then he leaps towards the Mantis and uses Spore Explosion to hide his whereabouts. But the Mantis learned from his mistakes, so he waits for Wazi to appear. So when Wazi emerged from the clouds of Spore to attack it, the Mantis can now clearly see Wazi. So without hesitations it separates Wazi's head from his body, which shocked the three immensely. Unexpectedly, multiple of Spore clone Wazi emerged from the Spore clouds. This confuses both Piggy and Kage as they asks what happened, while the multiple Spore clone Wazi uses their abilities simultaneously and confused the Blade Mantis. Now that the Mantis was overwhelmed by the multiple clones in front of it, it just decided to cleave its way to lessen the clones, but it wasn't enough, as Wazi proudly claims that this is his new ability, and it is called the Mushroom King's Regal Spore, and uses fourfold Mushroom Sword Dance, and successfully strike the Grandmaster Mantis, completely defeating it. After that, his Spore clones vanished, and the system congratulated him for defeating an elite monster, and he has received 15,000 experience points, and he increased his heritage ability, Regal Spore, to level 10. This outcome makes him happy, making him blush. At the same time, Piggy is happy for him. Then Bayu states that every cloud has a silver lining. The Regal Spore can only be used to spawn the most basic mushroom monster, but because Wazi's form is also locked to that form, those spawns can also transform into a human. He is likely the only Mushroom King that could do this. So, she concludes that the Mushroom Tribe is in good hands, which Kage 100% agrees with her. A few moments pass by. The Blade Mantis tribe bows as a sign of respect. As Wazi's group leaves the place, Wazi just discovered that Kage and the Grandmaster Mantis know each other, to which Kage tells him that they met when his master and him was training in the Tempest Grasslands, and the Grandmaster Mantis hadn't evolved at that time. Then he tells Wazi that it is enough of talking and orders him to move faster. Bayu was just informed that Wazi has an ability that shows him a map, so she asks Wazi, how far is the source volcano from their location? Therefore, Wazi looks at his map and tells them that they are still quite far away. Based on their speed so far, it will take them about 6 more days, to which Bayu responds that it is too slow, and Kage shouts at Wazi as he asks how can he still run at the same speed. That is the previous him. He has already improved so much, so Kage decided that he has only 3 days to reach the source volcano, which Wazi realizes what Kage is saying is right. He is stronger now, and with his improvement, Piggy, Bayu, and Kage might be able to snatch a tablet from Golem's apostles. So with this, he happily picked up the cart and went on their way. The closer they got to their destination, the more bandits and ferocious monsters appeared, but Piggy and Wazi were able to beat them back without any problem. And now, Wazi is at level 62, and Piggy is at level 60, and they are more powerful than ever before. A few moments pass by. The system reminds them that they have a mission yet to be turned in, and a gold inn is nearby, so it asks them if they would like to visit the nearby gold inn, to which they decide to go, since it is just on the way. Inside the gold inn, Wazi tells them that it will be quick, so he asks them to sit down first, and to promise not to cause trouble, to which Kage tells him to just do that and reminds him not to forget to ask for information about their targets. Without wasting time, Wazi went over to the owner and turned in a mission. Hence, the owner looks at the mission information and see that all the mission takers have completely disappeared. No one has yet come to collect the bounty, as he is the only one to collect the bounty after their designated collection time. He will be given the entire reward. After receiving it, he is reminded about Muscle Uncle, so he feels sad, but Piggy is with him, so she comforts him, which he appreciates. The owner then shows some of the new missions, so he gladly looks at it. However, he is surprised to see there are so many missions to kill monsters attacking cities. Moreover, all of them are high difficulty missions. The owner explained that there had been a sudden increase in unknown and vicious monsters in the Tempest Grasslands. They have destroyed many towns. Although the Sword Saint Guild has already sent out members to slay these monsters, there are too many incidents too far apart for them to handle everything in time. So, some towns are still in danger. He reminds Wazi that a monster that can destroy an entire town is not to be trifled with. He can look at all the adventurers here and see for himself. Even the 6 great guilds have suffered casualties. Wazi states that he originally planned on taking a mission on the way, but he thinks it is better to avoid unnecessary trouble. Suddenly Kage appeared beside Wazi and called him an idiot, and asked him what is he afraid of, and no matter how strong those monsters are, can they be stronger than the enemies they would face? So he told Wazi to just take it as the next part of his training, to which Wazi realized what Kage is saying is right, since he is not the same as before. Worst comes to worst, there is also Bayu and Kage with him. With this he is now confident to see just how difficult an S-ranked mission is. Therefore he asked the owner, what is the monster closest to the route leading to the source volcano? The owner responds that the closest monster on that route should be mission number 3, and the difficulty is A rank. But before he could finish what he is saying, Wazi accepts the mission. Then Adrian drunkenly approaches Wazi from behind, surprising both Wazi and Piggy, while he tells Wazi that they have also taken that mission, and asks him to come with them, to which Wazi politely refuses. But Adrian is so drunk to understand personal space, and keeps pestering Wazi, as Adrian tells him that they are also from the Walrus Ivory Guild and they are very strong. But luckily Adrian had too much to drink, so he collapses on the spot. So his guildmates picked him up and apologized to Wazi's group for Adrian's behavior. But suddenly Eli Fei appeared in front of them, and she stated that, on the way here, they went to all the places that were being attacked by these unknown monsters, although the Sword Saint Guild members had already cleared the battlefield, but judging from the traces left and the amount of destruction, those unknown monsters are no joke. And as she was talking, Wazi notices her ears. He concludes that she is from the Fey tribe, so he uses appraisal on her. Now he sees that she is only a level 33 spirit archer, while Ilifei still has the audacity to suggest that they should forget about going there, and to not overestimate themselves, otherwise, they will only be heading towards their own death. Wazi thanks her for the reminder, while he was thinking to himself that this is his first time meeting someone from the Fey tribe. However, her level is too low, but the way she talks and the fact that she is part of a big guild made Wazi assume that she is just hiding her strength. Meanwhile, Elifei's words trigger Kage, so he tells her that he will cut her down, and then they will see who is overestimating themselves, to which Wazi tries to defuse the situation, but Bayu steps up and tells them to let her handle this. So Bayu went over to Ilifei and called her little girl, as she states that, since she is a member of that arrogant Fey tribe, then her profession must be some type of ranger. As it so happens, she is somewhat of a sharpshooter herself, and when Bayu is close enough to Ilifei, she asks her if she dares to have a match with her, to which Ilifei replies that she doesn't scare her. Suddenly a spear guy appears in the scene and asks Ilifei not to cause trouble, since they are about to set out. He asks her to just focus on the mission at hand, to which Ilifei is annoyed by his presence. The spear guy introduced himself to be a combat instructor of the Walrus Ivory Guild, and his name is Eugene Gate. He is also Elifei's team leader, so he explained that she's got a sharp tongue, but she does not mean anything bad. As her instructor, he apologized in her stead, but suddenly he noticed Bayu's beauty and was mesmerized by her, so he kneels on one knee and rephrases what he said, and since their destination is the same, he asks politely to allow him to escort Bayu, and calls her beautiful miss, to which Bayu coldly tells him to scram. By her instant rejection, he now likes her even more. Ilifei calls him an idiot, and tells him that she won't waste any more time here, as she leaves the scene. So he stands up, and since they are all headed to Lift Station Town, he will see Bayu again, and he will be sure to wow her with his valiant figure in battle in their next meeting. It won't be too late to accept him then. So, he says his farewell and went on his way. As Eugene is leaving, Bayu asks if Wazi also detects it, to which he responds that he senses an aura of a monster on his body. Kage states that it is not just any monster, it is a dragon. Bayu adds that being able to tame a dragon is not a small feat. That person is anything but weak. Now Wazi knows he is a legendary dragon knight. Speaking of which, he doesn't think he has ever met a monster of the dragon species yet. Kage responds, so what if it's a dragon? The last time one of those tried to attack the Mushroom Kingdom, he made it into a side dish for his alcohol. Bayu tells them that they should also get going, otherwise, Wazi's mission target might get stolen by them, which Wazi was excited about, since he kinda wants to see a Dragon Knight in action. A few moments passed by. They were now inside the lift station town, and people were running around in panic. Bayu couldn't believe a single monster had done this to a human town. With no time to waste, they decided to go to where the battle is, while Piggy and Wazi feel an uncomfortable magic fluctuation emanating from that direction. After they arrive at the scene, Bayu asks Wazi to switch to his monster form, to not expose their identities for now. She commands them to try to find a higher vantage point, and she asks Kage to come with them too. Wazi asks if it is a good idea since Kage can't transform after all, which Kage didn't like to hear. Still, they traveled together anyway. Meanwhile, the monster attacks the adventurers with an energy beam, but it was deflected by Adrian with his Holy Bastion skill, and redirected to itself, blowing its head off, so one of the faces on its waist withers away, and the monster regenerates. But before it could attack again, Ilifei follows up with Arrow Dance of the Butterfly's skill, hitting several magic arrows into its chest, so another face withers away. The assassin follows up with double rotating slash, but his attacks weren't effective, and his enchanted purple viper daggers were dulled. Now the monster got its chance to retaliate, so it spits acidic vomit towards the assassin, but it was nullified by a fire magic flame wall by Edmund. Then he states that This monster seems to be some kind of fish species. It has a thick layer of mucus covering its scales, which allows it to mitigate physical damage. If they want to damage it, all they gotta do is burn off all the mucus. So he cast a firewall that burned the monster. Now it is vulnerable to physical attacks and is weakened. A dragon pulse ability pierced its heart. Now Eugene appears at the scene, riding a dragon, and without hesitation, he descends and uses Dragon Soul Spear Strike to end the monster. The townspeople were amazed and celebrated, since they believed the monster was now defeated. While from the rooftop, Wazi was amazed to see the fierce attack of the Dragon Knight, but Kaguya was disappointed, since he thought Eugene tamed a powerful dragon, but it turned out it is just a common one, while Bayu states that it was too flashy. Humans love to waste their magic power on this sort of flashy yet inefficient attack. At the same time, the other adventurers celebrate their victory as they assume that their job is finished. Edmund praises Lord Eugene, worthy of being a dragon knight, while Ili Fei boasts that she will surpass Eugene very soon. But their fight is far from over, as the spear of Eugene was thrown in front of them, and when they look up, they saw Eugene is being entangled by the tentacles of the monster, while his magic power is being drained. In a pinch, he calls for his dragon, so it formed a fire in its mouth to attack, but it got pierced instead. But the monster's attack wasn't finished, as its tentacles slashes downwards, slicing the dragon in half. Shock can be seen on Eugene's face. At the same time, the other adventurers launched their powerful attack to help Eugene escape, which also made things hard for them to see, as dust covered the place. Still, Adrian felt something was coming over, so he stepped forward to block the attack, but the monster is now more powerful than ever before. Therefore it pierces his shield, killing both Adrian and the assassin. Adrian's last words are to warn his guildmates to run and save themselves, but Ili Fei was too shocked to even move, so Edmund went to her and cast his magic barrier to deflect the attack, but the monster was too much for them to handle, so the barrier breaks, and both of them were knocked out. Hit that like button and thanks for watching.